Welcome to the Oshawa Community Museum podcast with your host, Melissa Cole.
Hello, this is Melissa Cole, curator of the Oshawa Community Museum. Thank you for joining me today for our monthly podcast series. Today we're going to speak about another one of our treasured artifacts, a Peavey. The Oshawa Community Museum's current exhibition, entitled the Sea Shanty Exhibit, contains artifacts that were discovered along the shores of Oshawa and Lake Ontario by local diver Robert Stephenson. For most of the artifacts, we know what their original use was, except for a few pieces that we chose to display anyways, with the hope that one of our exhibit viewers might be able to help us. That is exactly what happened on the day of the exhibit opening. Our president, Merle Cole, stepped to the plate with information on one particular piece, a cant hook. Further research indicated it was actually a Peavey, which is very similar to a cant hook. There is a difference. A Peavey has a spiked end for turning logs, and a cant hook has more of a flat end or a little set of dogs that can be set to 90 degrees in the direction of the handle that's used for turning cants, which is a log. The name Peavey comes from its inventor, Joseph Peavey, of Stillwater, Maine in 1858. He was a blacksmith by trade, and one day while standing on a bridge watching some river drivers at work below with the cant hook, he felt it needed some improvement. The tool he made has ever since been known as a Peavey, and universally it was used in log driving. As I mentioned earlier, the Peavey was one of the artifacts that was found by Robert Stephenson in Lake Ontario, in the area of the Oshawa Harbour. Did this particular Peavey fall off a ship while docked at the harbour, or was it possibly used by Daniel Conant and David Annis when they operated the first lumber mill in this area? The lumber mill was located on the bank of the Oshawa Creek just north of Thomas Street. The mill had a capacity of 4,000 feet of lumber per day, and the Oshawa Creek was a sizable stream. Therefore, it was possible for Daniel and David to float logs down the creek to the harbor, where they'd be loaded onto ships and carried to Canadian and United States ports located on Lake Ontario. It might be quite possible that this Peavey was used to keep the lumber moving and prevented them from jamming along the Oshawa Creek as they made their way to the harbor to be loaded onto ships. If you'd like to view this artifact, you can do so by visiting the Sea Shanty Exhibit, which is on display now until the end of the summer. I hope you join me next month as we discover another one of Oshawa's hidden gems, the Smith Potteries. They were known for making pottery that was, quote, one of its kind in Canada.